Hello everyone, welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Tarot. Today's timeless reading is going to be a collective reading with whatever messages want to come out at this time. And obviously from whatever the title or thumbnail says, you probably have an idea of what's going to be said here, but I don't yet. We're just going to pull some cards and see what comes through. So, before I get started, first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Juliana, and I am a certified consulting hypnotist and, of course, a tarot reader. I work with my mom, who is also a hypnotist, tarot reader, and she also works with human design. So if you are interested in any of our personal services, like personal readings or hypnosis or human design, you can check out our website. All the information is in the link in the description. So wanted to get that out of the way before we get into what some of you may be expecting, which is the brief centering exercise that I do like to do before most of the readings on this channel. So, as always, if you would like to join me for that, stick around. If you would not, you can always skip ahead. The timestamps will be in the description. But I like to do a brief centering exercise as like a little, almost group meditation for anyone who comes to this and feels like you want to just relax and get centered in yourself before getting into the messages, just so that you can connect more deeply with what the messages are that resonate most with you in particular. So let's get into that now. If you are joining me, get comfortable. And of course, if you are in the middle of doing any kind of activity, like driving or anything like that, skip this part, come back to it later. But for those of you who can, get comfy, and if you feel called to do so, you may want to close your eyes and bring your attention to your breathing. And as you bring your attention to your breathing, just allow it to be, but just notice it. Notice how it feels to inhale and exhale. And you may imagine that with each inhale, you inhale love and relaxation. And with each exhale, you exhale anything that you're ready to release at this time. Just let everything go. And feel free to just listen to the sound of my voice and bring your attention to either my voice or your breathing throughout this little exercise, whichever one feels more centering for you at this time, as I will just speak a few words of relaxation and affirmation going into this reading. So today, for this reading, you may set the intention to receive the messages that are most useful to you in your highest good at this time, and tune in with your personal deepest intuition, which you can always trust to tell you what is meant for you and what is not at this time. And you can trust that you always have access to this intuition. So even at times when you may feel cut off from it or blocked from it, know that it's actually much easier than you think to tune right back into it. And you can trust going forward that no matter what happens, no matter where you are, who you're with, or what's going on around you, you will always be able to return back to your breathing, back to your center, and easily and naturally tap into your personal energy and intuition. So you can live your life in the present moment, feeling confident that you always have a direct line to what is truly meant for you and what is in your highest good and the highest good of all. And you can feel confident to just live your life feeling more relaxed than before and more ready to just live and enjoy and experience all that life has to offer. So no matter what is going on for you in your life at this time, trust that even any difficulties that you may come to face will pass with more ease than you might have expected in the past. because you understand that you can trust yourself through anything, any ups, any downs that you may go through in your life. And you have a solid foundation of the universe supporting you and of your own intuition, which is guiding you every step of the way. And with that, if you would like to remain in meditation for a bit longer, you may pause this video and return when you are ready. But for those of you who are ready, let's get into our collective reading for today. Okay, so thank you to anyone who joined me for the brief centering exercise, and thank you to those of you who did not. Either way, I'm excited to have you here and to get into this reading. And without further ado, we're just going to see what wants to come through for us today, and hopefully this will be a nice, enjoyable, relaxing listen for you, wherever you are, however you're feeling, whatever you're doing. We're just going to see what all of us need to hear right now. So with that, I'm going to start by rolling some astrology dice to get a kind of feel for a topic that's coming through, and then I have various cards that I'm going to pull to see what other messages want to come out around that topic, but we're just going to use these dice as a jumping off point. So we've got the houses here, we've got the astrological signs, and we've got the planets, and let's just see what wants to come out. So let's ask for what message wants to come through for the highest good of the collective that will be watching this video. All right, we have, Scorpio? Yeah, Scorpio. Sometimes Scorpio and Virgo are very similar. We have, not Mercury, we have Uranus, and we have the third house. Okay. Interesting. Scorpio, Uranus, and the third house. Okay, so with Scorpio and Uranus here, there's a feeling of like deep transformation and shocking change almost. Like, and with the third house here, I mean, communication, that can be like siblings, neighbors, your close community, intellect, that's very intellectual house, how you're thinking, your patterns. So I feel like with Scorpio and Uranus here, there's definitely a feeling of transformation in how you think and how you communicate, how we all think and communicate. That is going on right now. That may take the shape of having some potentially groundbreaking conversations. And there might even be someone in particular, maybe you are this person at this time, who's bringing through, maybe becoming bolder with your communication. This might resonate for a lot of you, feeling like there are conversations that need to be had, or that you've been having more deep or important conversations that in the past felt more difficult. But I almost feel like there's this collective message of conversations that might have once felt impossible to have, or you might have once been too afraid to have, happening now. Like, there's a shift in the way that we're all thinking and communicating with one another, where I feel like I'm hearing the word bold, like we're being called to be more bold in our communication, but also I feel like there might be some boldness happening, whether it's us doing the direct communication or there's someone else coming to us. It feels like there's a message here that whenever you're seeing this, take this as timeless for whenever you're actually listening to this, that now is the time that more important conversations are going to be had that might have at one time, you might have at one time never even imagined being able to have. Either in your personal life, there could be some things going on as well in the world at large, like information that's coming out that's unexpected, but it definitely feels like for a lot of people, it's closer to home. So it might be reflected by the broader collective, but I feel like there's also, if that's the case, there's also conversations that are happening closer to home in family units and with people in your community that are also going to be unexpected or unusual at this time. And this is bringing deep transformation. This is with the intention of deep transformation. There's transformation going on that is changing how we are thinking, how other people in your life are thinking, and it's meant to bring about incredible change I just heard. Now, when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of these conversations or whatever is happening in your communication is going to change things overnight, because while Uranus, to me, it's kind of almost like the Tower card energy, like it's a breakthrough, it's new ideas. This could be conversations that might have been difficult at one time because maybe there were things that were unspoken that need to be said, and they're being said now. Like there's an energy around that's causing and encouraging you and other people in your life to like speak up. But there's also this sense of like potentially groundbreaking new ideas, or people coming into your life who have things that, you know, the one thing that you needed to hear to have this breakthrough, they say it, right? Maybe even creative ideas that are coming to you, or that are breakthroughs in creative projects that you've been looking for. And there's this sense that there might be like certain moments where a breakthrough occurs in a relationship, in a communication, in an idea that you're having. And it's like almost like a lot of little shocks, like a lot of little tower moments that all culminate to a very big transformation. So it's like the breakthrough will happen in a moment, right? And then there'll be like an integration period. But there's many of these happening, and so it's like the breakthrough might not change everything overnight, but all these little breakthroughs happening culminate in this overall like Scorpio energy, this overall like death, quote unquote, this transformation over time. Because to me, the concept of death is a lot slower than the Tower card might be. It's a transformation that happens over time. Generally, that's how I read it, and I associate Scorpio with the Death card because that's the sign, that's the card that it's mostly associated with. And it's also one of depth. I feel like, again, there's also this feeling of like things rising to the surface, things coming out from the depths and then being exposed, spoken, communicated. There's also a feeling for anyone who's an artist that now is a time where you're being called to communicate your depths through your art, like express the unexpressible through your art. Maybe for some of you, there have been creative ideas where you've been a little afraid to put them out there because you thought they might not be accepted by people in your community, or they might feel a little taboo. But I feel like now we're being called to bring those kinds of things to light. So if you have ideas that you've shied away from in the past, now is the time to start acting on them, start getting a little bolder and braver in your self-expression, bringing up those things that are maybe more difficult to say out loud, or difficult to put into a painting or put into a story. And it's like you're being given the green light, like, yes, now is the time. Fascinating. Yeah, and it's gonna I feel like this is something that could be taking place in all different areas of life, you know? So it could be in creative projects, it could be in a workplace, it could be in personal relationships and family relationships, but it's like the things that are needing to be said are rising to the surface and breaking the surface, breaking through. At last, I heard. Ooh, okay, fun. So with that, I'm going to actually draw a card from this stack that I have of cards, of quotes specifically from the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. I just collected specifically quotes from that book because I feel like it's a fantastic treatise on, or philosophical exploration, if you will, of love as a more tangible thing. So not just love as like a frequency, vibration, whatever, a feeling, but love as an act. What is love made of, and how can we actually act it out in the world? How can we do love, as it were, as opposed to simply feeling it, right? How do you express love when maybe you feel like you've been cut off from it? How do you explore love and get closer to love when you maybe don't actually know what it feels like yet, right? Can we act on love as opposed to just feeling it? And I appreciate that. I like that approach. It balances out the kind of more like the term that's coming through is airy-fairy, but you know, like the kind of more like up here in the ethereal realms version of love versus down here in the 3D version of 3D realms, right? Like we're kind of bridging the gap between like the sort of feeling and experience and the less tangible version of love with the way that we act it out, and we bring it into the physical experience that we have. So let's see what quote wants to come out from that book, which I encourage you to read, by the way, if you have not and you're curious about it and you want to explore it, because any quote that comes out here will just be like a small tidbit. She has so much interesting information in that book and so many interesting perspectives. So like I highly recommend reading the whole thing, but let's see what quote wants to come out. So what quote from this stack? Okay, that's too many. Let's try to go for one, because some of these are very long. What quote from this stack is relevant to this message that we are having about these breakthroughs in communication and potentially new ideas, revolutionary new ideas? Come on. There we go. All right, let's see. Oh, good, it's a short one. Interesting. Okay, this says, globally, enlightened, healthy parenting is best realized within the context of community and extended family networks. So, again, this is from All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. And, interesting. So, for a lot of people, there could be breakthroughs in communication that happen specifically within a family setting. And for those of you who are parents, but I also feel like this could be, whether you're a parent or not, this could be happening with you and your children, but it could also be something that's happening between you and your parents, whether they're still here in this realm or they're not. Something about relationships with parents is important here to this collective, and I am getting a feeling that whether breakthroughs in communication are happening in, no matter where it's happening in your life, there is something that does go back to the family home. Like any patterns of communication from your family life, that especially anything that kept things suppressed and repressed, it's like that's not going to stand anymore, right? There are going to be breakthroughs in that area, and if there have been patterns where you're aware of it and maybe no one else in your life is, you're going to have to be the one to break through, basically, and to say the thing that no one wants to say, almost. And that depends on your situation. That will only be for some people, and it might happen in smaller bite-sized chunks, right, in smaller ways in your life. But I do feel like there's this overall importance of saying the thing, finally saying the thing that needs to be said. Now, in addition, specifically talking about the context of this quote in particular, this is highlighting the importance of community, the importance of extended networks, something that in the Western world, at least, I'm in the United States, unfortunately, right now, but in the Western world, we've kind of left behind a really good, sturdy sense of community. Now, some people still experience this depending on where they grow up and what kind of town they're in. I know that people who are engaged in more religious communities often have a community. Like, that's one of the benefits of having an organized religion that you follow, is that there's often a built-in community in that context. But those of us who don't have that, or who are not necessarily made for a structured, organized religion, or who find that organized religions aren't very supportive of us, depending on who we are as people, don't necessarily have that sense of community, and it can be harder to foster that. And even just the way that we live in separate houses, and in, things being further away, and not necessarily being encouraged or feeling encouraged to go out and talk to strangers. People are becoming more and more isolated. This is something that Bell Hooks, for one, definitely, I don't want to say warns against, but I guess notes as a barrier to love in our modern society. But this is something that I feel is a reason why these breakthroughs are happening now, because there is this return to the idea that community is important. And in order to foster community, we are going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable, to be able to have uncomfortable conversations, to be able to be in the presence of other people who may or may not have different ideas about life and have different backgrounds. And in those settings, especially when you're new to it, especially when it's new to the people who are involved, that can at first seem daunting because there is discomfort around talking to people who are different than you, around potentially having hard conversations around what community means, and can I tolerate this person? Can they tolerate me? What about acceptance? Can I accept this person? Can they accept me? And that's why having these little breakthroughs, having these little shocks, finally being able to speak up and say the things that no one wants to say, it's going to break the ground for deeper conversations to come up now. That's why we're getting deeper with our conversations. This is an encouragement to go out into your community and share more of who you really are, what you really think, and then find what's underneath that. Go even deeper. And a lot of you might be getting this message because you've been doing that with yourself, right? It does sometimes start within yourself. You start to have the deeper conversations with you. Like, okay, what do I believe in? And why do I believe in this? What do I value? And why do I value this? And when you start to get to know yourself on a deeper level, you start to pick apart, okay, well, like, actually, does this feel like me? Or is this just something I was told? And can I get rid of that and replace it with something else? Or is this does really feel like me, but maybe I had some beliefs that I had to suppress this aspect of myself, right? And when you start to get real with yourself in that way, and you start to learn to accept yourself on a deeper level, that's when it becomes easier through that process. As you start to genuinely know yourself on a deeper level, it starts to get easier to also accept others on a deeper level, right? So this is like a breakthrough in no more just surface level conversations. It doesn't mean you have to like take the leap and start trying to dig in deep with everyone you meet all the time, but it's more like when the opening presents itself, when it feels natural, and I feel like this is being supported by whatever energy is happening in your life right now, it now is the time to start to go a little deeper with your communication. Be open to things that you were previously not open to when it comes to talking to people in your family, talking to people in your community, and start to recognize how that is the first step to building community and networks, which are so important in a society. The society that we've created, for a lot of us out here, as I said, in the West, in the United States, at least in the communities that I've been around, we have to be more deliberate about these things. We have to be more deliberate about creating community. And there are pitfalls and hardships that come along with that. But there's also a lot of potential to do so from a much more conscious place than if we didn't have to do it deliberately, than if we didn't have to kind of start over again in this new world that we're living in. But as I'm sure many of you will agree, based on all the things that we see in the news and the stuff that's going on around the world, I mean, it's time to forge a new type of community. It's time to start being real with each other again and finding ways to connect with people who we might have been implicitly or explicitly discouraged from connecting with, and not being able to get to the bottom of like where this rift is happening and why we feel strongly about the things we do and why we feel like we need to fight over this or that, or can I accept you and your identity? Can you accept me and my identity? And like, what is all that, like what all that even means? And I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but if you're the one who's here listening to this, first of all, you might be surprised, because I feel like this could be a sign that there are some people in your life who might be coming forward to you, who you might not have ever expected to go deeper with, who actually are inviting you to go deeper with them, who want to have that connection. But in some cases, you might also have to be that person. And when I say that, I don't feel like this is something you're going to have to force. I feel like there will be opportunities that present themselves to you. And so you don't have to like go to someone who you feel like, I'm never going to get through to them. They're a brick wall. Like they're never going to go deeper with me. Like you don't have to force it. It's more like you might have to, in some cases, take the first leap. You might have to take a little leap of faith if there's something that you've been wanting to say to someone, or a community you've been wanting to enter, or something you've been wanting to learn more about. You might have to take that leap in some cases, but in other cases, you just have to be open-minded to having conversations you haven't before, and the conversation will present itself to you. And when you do have that experience, you can recognize it as the potential for a new way of relating with the people in your community coming to fruition, which is really necessary at this time. And if there are ways where you are doing work that can explicitly help this kind of community grow. If there have been ways where you've been thinking, should I start this program? Should I do this training that's maybe involved in some kind of community service or something like that? Should I go to this town meeting? Should I get more involved in something in my community that I've been thinking about getting involved in? This feels like a yes. See where it leads, try it out. Be open to changing your mind about things or seeing things in a new way that you might not have considered before, because the energy is ripe for that. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna get some tarot cards just to see if there's anything else on this topic. No, that's too many. So are there any concrete ways? I'm going to ask the question. Are there any concrete ways that this collective can facilitate these breakthroughs in communication and this and further the creation of community in their lives? We have Knight of Discs. Okay. Anything else? Six of Swords. Oh, okay. And let's get one more. The Moon. Okay. So the first thing with the Knight of Discs, which is also known as the Knight of Pentacles in regular Rider-Waite-Smith, we have this feeling. I mean, the first thing that came up with the Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Discs is patience. Patience and determination. There's a song. Wait, there's a song. Patience and determination. How does it go? I think it's like, I think it's from the Hunger Games. This is not a game. I think it's from the Hunger Games soundtrack. Maybe Catching Fire soundtrack. I think Lorde is in it, and then there's another artist. Yeah, I think it's called This Is Not a Game. And then there's like this one line that goes, patience and determination. Staring at a gladiator. Yeah. So, yeah, patience and determination. So this is something that it's saying, again, like, there are going to be lots of little breakthroughs happening, lots of little shocking conversations and events, and you will not necessarily see the bigger picture of where it's leading yet. So at the same time as certain things will be surprising and there will be breakthroughs, it's not all like, it's not like there's one big breakthrough and then it all changes overnight. It's like, ooh, a breakthrough here, a breakthrough there. And then all of a sudden you start, as time goes on, you start to, the unfolding of the bigger picture, the transformation that's taking place starts to reveal itself to you more fully. But you have to keep going and persist through a lot of those little breakthroughs. And I get the sense that a lot of it will feel ultimately very relieving to have certain things come out and to finally be revealed, to have certain conversations. But there might be moments of discomfort as well, because in the past, I feel like these are a lot of conversations you might have never imagined being able to have with certain people in your life. And it will be surprising and unexpected. And sometimes, once again, it will be really positively surprising, but other times it might be uncomfortable to even be in that conversation in that moment. So just persist. Keep going, though. Keep going and be open to people surprising you, honestly, with their reactions to things, with their mind changing about certain things, with your interactions with other people shifting in a positive way. Because overall, this is shifting in a positive direction. Like the Six of Swords being here, I mean, that's positive momentum building. So while it might be slower than your mind wants it to be, and you might not know where this is going, the Six of Swords is saying, like, the momentum overall is positive, but with the moon here, you're not going to see the full picture for a while. And there might be some things that are confusing or seem to come out of nowhere or reveal to you certain unconscious patterns that you have not become aware of yet. This is going to be surprising. Like, there's a lot that I can't necessarily talk about because the experience of it being, you will only gain the insight that you're meant to gain through the experience of it. But overall, the energy I have is very positive here. Like, it's exciting. There might be some subconscious patterns in your life, in your mind, that are nervous about the shifts that are happening. It might bring to your consciousness certain patterns that you didn't recognize before. And you might find yourself looking at yourself from a new light as well, which can at first be uncomfortable. But ultimately, it's a sign that things are shifting in the direction that you want them to go. It's kind of like if you're someone who's asking for a better world, for more community, or even unconsciously asking for more support and things like that, this is the way that it's meant to happen. Like, this feels like a result of a manifestation that everyone who's listening to this, at the very least, is calling in, either consciously or unconsciously, in terms of your life and the way you relate to the people around you, and the way that you communicate yourself, and the way that others communicate with you, which is great. It sounds honestly like ultimately very beautiful, but once again, potentially quite uncomfortable in the process. Just had to take a sip of water. Another thing that I wanted to say, because I was asking how can people support these different changes, that are going to be happening. Like, how can you support this energy? How can you move with it? And yet, patience, trusting that things are moving and being guided in a positive direction, and allowing subconscious patterns to be revealed to you, and for you to move through that, and to move through any uncertainty and fear that arises in that process, and to trust that all is going well. At the same time, some tangible things that we can talk about involve, with the Knight of Pentacles, yes, patience with the process, but also patience with yourself and the people around you. Practicing patience and using times when people might test your patience as an opportunity to practice it, rather than something that's just another stressful thing, or just like this person being the way they are. It's like, well, for you, can it be an opportunity for you to practice patience? But also, more than that, like, if there are even small, like, I'm getting the specific example of, like, donating even just a small sum of money to a cause that you really believe in, a charity that is legitimate, and that gives to something that helps other people. Just like small donations here or there, small little, even like making like knitting scarves for people or something like that, or donating clothing, or spending an hour, like volunteering a few hours a week at a food bank or a local shelter or something like that. Like, anything that might seem a little small in comparison to all the things that you might want to change in the world, or all the shifts you want to see in your community, those will add up over time. So there might be a feeling sometimes that you have of helplessness, of like, I want to help out, I want to be of service, but nothing I could do feels like it would be enough. It doesn't matter how big or small. The cumulative effort of just like the one little thing you do every week, or the persistent, like, okay, I'll just keep showing up. I'll just keep doing my best. I'll just keep finding little ways here and there to serve. That all adds up over time. It makes a difference. So this is asking you to trust that, and to just say that doing even a little something is better than doing nothing. And so if there are little ways where you can contribute to your community, where you can contribute to the world around you in a positive way, that all adds up over time. Persistence, it's better to have that right now for this collective. It's better to have that persistence and just that energy of just continuing to show up, that consistency, than it is to just have like $1 billion and just give it all, throw it all at like one thing, right? And presumably most people listening to this don't have that kind of money, but that's okay. You don't need that in order to make a big change. And so it's trusting in the little things, trusting in the consistency, trusting in continuing to show up with love, show up with the intention of love. And you don't have to know and understand exactly how much of a difference you're going to make. Just do it on faith that you are making a difference, because you are showing up with that intention. And it doesn't have to feel like enough, but it is significant. Even the smallest thing can be so significant in someone's life, the smallest little act of kindness. So just keep showing up. with the Six of Swords as well, there's a specific message around potentially also, and this might just be really specific for certain people who either like are considering something in the area of helping children. There's this this idea of like sheltering children, or specifically focusing on the children in your area and how you can help them. There's also this sense of like maybe both going out and volunteering and working with children in some way. If there's opportunities that have come up that you can seize, like, yes, go do it. It might be healing for you as much as for them. But also this idea of prayer as well. Like, if that's something that you engage in already, like, yes, prayers do help as well. Like, take action in what way you can, pray in what way you can, send that energy, send that love. The intention does make a difference. And in particular, especially if just that you feel like that's all you have to give at this time, it's better than nothing. So just, even if you don't pray, put out a good thought, put out a loving intention for people who you feel need it. And in this case, children's coming to mind because I'm feeling like, anything that's going on in your community where, say, children are being separated from their families or people are being taken away from their homes. Sometimes it feels like, what can I do in the face of that? Well, there may be certain things in your community, certain organizations that are working to help people who are in those situations. And if you can get involved in that, do. But also, when you can't, or in addition, in your spare time, sit down and send love and in good intention and prayer. Just put that out there to the universe, put that out there to whatever higher power you believe in, and trust that that's being received in some way or another, And I do feel like once again, like, if there are boots on the ground, things that you can do, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be out there single-handedly saving lives and whatnot, but like, if there are boots on the ground, things that you can do, it can be, once again, just a little bit at a time. It will add up. Both of those things are important, and can make a big difference. And also there's this message of, you don't always have to know the full impact of an act of kindness that you do, or something that you do. Sometimes you won't even understand or ever be aware of the kind of impact that you've had in someone else's life, but just do it anyway. Just live and be out there and have the best of intentions and trust. And that's all you can do sometimes, but just trust that it makes a difference, even if you don't see it. Was there anything I had with the moon? I just feel like that's referring to some subconscious breakthroughs that are going to be happening through this time for you as well, because, I feel like I'm just shuffling my moon cards, speaking of the moon, and they just fell all over the place. So maybe I'm not done talking about this moon card. It feels like the moon refers to the fact that even if there are actual breakthroughs in terms of community, in terms of your communication with other people in your life, and other people in your life changing and growing, that will reflect your own internal changes as well, that you will be realizing and recognizing things that you haven't realized and recognized before. You'll be seeing yourself and life in a new way through this process as well. So it's not just going to be an external shift by any means. And also the moon might be significant if you are someone who follows the cycles of the moon and you do like rituals and things around that. Keep doing them. If you're not, you might want to pay attention to that. Pay attention to some of the upcoming new moons, full moons, what's going on with that as well, because you might see some patterns in terms of how that impacts your life and how that also impacts the specific energy we're talking about here, where there's like these shifts in communication. So interesting. You might want to pay attention to that. Now, is there anything else this collective needs to be aware of, or that is good for this collective to be aware of coming up in their life related to this energy? please give me a moon card to signify. Please pop it out in their highest good. Is there any other messages that you have for this collective with regards to this energy? Okay. We have 2. Actually, I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to include, I didn't talk about, the 8 of Wands came through on the bottom of the deck. So one thing I want to say, the first message that came through was of patience, right? But the 8 of Wands can often be swift action. So I almost feel like the more patience and persistence, the swifter the change occurs. And also that, again, like some of these changes and shifts in your communication are going to be happening fast, maybe unexpectedly. There might be a lot of energy around you right now. You might be feeling a lot of intensity. And in this case, it might not only be beneficial for you to call upon protection and help for others who need it, but also for yourself as well, through the energy that you're experiencing, through the changes and shifts that you're experiencing, to sort of settle your nervous system, and also just on a physical level as well. Do practices that help calm you down, help keep you settled, help keep you in a more relaxed state. That will help make this process easier. Because if there are a lot of like, I didn't expect to have that conversation, or that was a little intense, or maybe in some cases these conversations might come through as as some confrontations. There could be some confrontations, I don't think that's actually the case for everyone. I actually get the sense that there's going to be a lot of conversations where you're like, well, that went better than I thought. Or like, even if there's initially some awkward energy, or there's initially a confrontation, it's going to be resolved in a way that makes things even better than they were before. Like, that's what I feel is ultimately going to happen. But like, through that, it helps if you're very aware of how you regulate your nervous system, because there might be some times when that really comes in handy through this energy, this time of new, interesting ways of communication. So with that said, we have a Lion here, and we also have a Lion here. So Leo energy might also be significant, but it's also, I'm thinking also of courage and being bold, like we talked about in the beginning. There's like a lot of boldness coming through in the energy here. So we also have bring love into the situation with new moon in Aquarius. And we have don't let pride get in your way, full moon in Leo. That makes so much sense. Yeah, because we're talking about bringing love into these situations where, again, like I feel like there might be conversations that you were afraid to have, or talking to people that you might at one time have been afraid to talk to, or you might have written off as not worth your time, or you might have some prejudices against things like that. It's like you're bringing love into the situation now. Aquarius is also the sign of like community, of being more about the big picture of humanity and society at large. And so I feel like a lot of you are putting aside your pride. And one of the things that we're learning through this time is putting aside our pride to look at the bigger picture and say, hey, listen, if we actually want to make a change here, if we actually want to make a community here, if we actually want to connect with one another on a new level, we have to put aside our pride. We can't hold on to the things that we once held on to as parts of our identity that we needed to be so protective over, right? Because Aquarius is community minded, and Leo is very generous. Leo might have a lot of pride in a sense. Leo might come across as self-centered at times, but Leo is also a sign that shines outwardly, right? It's the sign that's most closely related to the sun, that radiates its own light and its own heat. And in that way, you can also adapt to a new way of being prideful in yourself, like being proud of yourself and being respectful of yourself, but also of others, and not being prideful in a way that is self-protective, but rather in a way that radiates out your unique light, your unique place in the world, and your own confidence in that, which allows you to be more outgoing and more bold in your communication, right? And seeing how sometimes saying the hard thing, bringing up the difficult thing, is the loving thing, right? Sometimes keeping your mouth shut might be the more loving thing. If you don't know how to be kind or composed about a certain topic, and there might be you might if you don't know how to say something in a way that that you can be proud of, yes. But on the other hand, being bold, speaking your mind in as loving a way as you can, and standing up for what you believe in, I mean, that can also be very loving as well, even if it ruffles some feathers. It might make people think. You might be surprised about the impact it has. And with North Node here, step out of your comfort zone. Yeah, this is something that I don't know. Maybe there's something. I feel like Uranus did recently move into a new sign. I don't remember which one. I don't think it was Scorpio though. But I almost feel like, whether astrologically or just in general, or maybe just in your specific life, whenever you're listening to this, if this is resonating, it's almost like the energy is supporting this. Like, this is inevitable. Like, these are things that are going to happen. And in a way, the only thing you have control over really is how you react to it, how you respond to it. And so I don't feel like you have to go out and pick fights, but you just might feel more emboldened to, or feel more like, yeah, now is the time to get out there more, to put myself out there more, to just be more direct in my communication, and to step out of my comfort zone. If this resonates with you and you've been waiting for a sign that it's time, it is time. Put your thoughts out there. Be more honest. Speak up in situations where you normally wouldn't have, and put out your art, your creations, the things that you want to say. Put it out there with more gusto, is what I just heard. Just be bold. Be bold. That's the word of the day. Be bold. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to do before we end this? I almost feel like I want to get one more card to cap this off. But what deck do I want to get it from? Hold on. Let me. Yeah. We're going to get a Hafiz card, and we'll read from the little booklet for that as well. So let's leave off with a last bit of advice for this collective. To make the most of this energy and this time, what's our last bit of advice? I'm going to move this over here. There we go. Okay. So what's our last bit of advice for this collective? What's our last? Okay. We have number 18 with play. And what I love about this card for this reading is that, if you could see, we have all these squirrels in this tree playing together. So, yeah, I feel like it's time to... to me, that's about community, about getting out there and being more involved with the people in your life. And even though there's an energy here of maybe shocking or surprising conversations, maybe even confrontation at times, and going deeper than you used to go with people in your life, there's also, and that can be quite heavy, and Scorpio can go quite deep, and it could be a quite emotional sign, even though it's, more under the surface, as opposed to, again, there's this feeling of, with Uranus here, the depths of Scorpio are, rising to the surface, right? But underneath that, there's still this encouragement to, it's almost like this heaviness is being lifted, right? These things are coming to the surface so that you can go forward with a lighter heart and with a lighter way of relating to other people. Where the depths, the things that were in the depths, the things that were heavy are rising to the surface and being released almost in these little shocks. I'm almost getting this imagery of little bolts of electricity or lightning, or little bubbles coming up to a surface, right? And releasing. And then once that's released, there's a lighter, more playful energy in the air. So it's kind of let that come out. And also find ways of, it's also we were talking about community service earlier. We were talking about sending love and light and help to people who are in need, and getting more involved in your community and maybe doing community service. But there's also an aspect of just play, like finding ways to play in your community. Joining a, I don't know, they have kickball teams now for like adults and things like that. Joining a cooking class, joining an adventure group. Do they have like an outdoor adventures group? Probably. A yoga class, a gym, anything like that. Finding ways to be more playful in your community, to be more playful and just lighthearted, and that also being a way of just bringing more of that community into your life. And yeah, it's like the purpose of deepening your relationships, of allowing yourself to be bolder, and of being open to having new kinds of conversations with people, and even potentially some confrontation with people, is to release the energy that was bubbling under the surface and to lighten up the energy between you and other people, and between you and this idea of communicating and getting out into your community, and allowing things to become more playful, right? Lightening up what once was heavy, releasing what once stood in the way of you and another person, of you and fun, I think, even of you and enjoying other people's company, which is very fun. And I'm also just going to read the booklet and then we will close this out. So we have play. Such nutrients in play, maybe more than even in prayer. So that's something to think about as well. If prayer is not enough, if you want to be more active in your community, there are so many ways that you can do that. Some that can also be really fun and engaging. When we play, we forget who we think we are, and all manner of possibility rushes in. Yes, we forget who we think we are. That's really important. That's something I feel like is coming through with this energy of these breakthroughs, is that some ideas that you had about who you are, about who other people are breaking down, are being released because they're ready to go, because they're standing in the way of something greater for you, something more fun also for you. Now is the time to shake off the shackles of heavy responsibility. Go outside and search the skies for clouds shaped like friends. Make a blanket fort in the middle of your living room. Color outside the lines. Skip down the aisles of the grocery store. Rekindle your relationship with the inner child who knows the secret to joy is play. Yeah. So through this time, one way to lighten the load is to intentionally be more playful, intentionally look for opportunities to play and engage with others in a playful way. Even deepening communication with someone can even be playful, because you can, sometimes it depends on the situation. Sometimes the situation might demand a more serious conversation. But sometimes if you want to deepen your relationship with someone else, but you feel like there's certain conversations you're not ready to have, or you don't know if you're ready to have them, maybe you can find a more playful, gentle way of deepening your relationship by, saying, okay, let's just do some things that we've never done before. Let's go to a place we've never been before and just see what happens, be lighthearted about it. Let's, maybe we'll start a thing every week where at the beginning of the week we send each other, or at the end of the week we send each other a picture of the weirdest thing we saw that week, or we send each other a quote that we heard that week, or make it a little playful game. It doesn't have to be like jumping off the deep end into a really deep conversation. It can be let's just casually get to know each other better, right? And let's just one step at a time deepen this relationship and find fun little ways to do that aren't so heavy and don't have a lot of pressure on them, but ultimately open the door in little ways to knowing someone on a deeper level, to just being more involved in their lives and to connecting more. And that the work that sometimes you can build up in your head, this idea that we can only progress as a community, as a family, in this relationship when we have this one really difficult conversation, or when this we make all this effort in this direction that feels so difficult, and we have the painful conversation, things like that. But sometimes it doesn't have to be that deep. Sometimes it can be a lot gentler and more fun if you are patient with it and you trust the process and you allow the momentum to move in that direction. some of the things that might have once seemed insurmountable will suddenly start to feel a lot easier. And I feel like some of this momentum has already been there. Like there might be some relationships and some aspects of your communication that have been improving slowly over time without you even noticing it. And that's why certain breakthroughs are happening now. And for others, this might be the time when you start to be more conscious about this kind of thing and start to say, okay, like maybe I'm not ready to have this one groundbreaking conversation with someone, or maybe I'm not ready to like throw myself into the community yet, but maybe there's little ways I can start putting myself out there more. Maybe there's little breakthroughs I can have, and maybe that will amount to something a lot greater, but maybe it can be fun along the way. Maybe I can make it into a little game, right? And just be creative with it. So, yeah. There's one example in particular that's coming up for me, and that's like sometimes they make little apps that help you so I've seen a lot for like specifically romantic relationships, like you and your partner, sharing your mood and like different conversation starters that you can have and like questions you can ask each other and sort of gamifying relationships a little bit, but you can use that for like friendships as well. But maybe you can take some of that sentiment, some of those ideas, some of the little like questions and things that apps like that have, or maybe like sometimes people make card decks and things like that, and take that and make your own version of it, right? So there's an idea right there. Just like little fun ways of shifting communication, shifting your relationship with others. Yeah, that can definitely help as well. So I hope that resonated. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Really interesting messages here. So I feel like there's a lot of exciting stuff ahead for this collective, and some twists and turns too that might not be expected, but I think ultimately will be very welcome. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear your feedback, hear how this resonated with you, if you already have been seeing this kind of thing happen in your life, and what that's meant for you and how you've been navigating it. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to check out our personal services, once again, sunflowerphilosophy.com. You can check the link in our description. Have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye!